the sunrise, here the day comes to another song for when tears fall down. There's nothing puts a mind at ease unless there's something within. Wonder whether you found peace in the sunrise, here the day comes.
Better believe the truth will surface. So many people have prayed for justice. Look at the time that's passed. Where in the hell are the facts? Giving the guilty a pass. Look at the face of an angel. Look at the people that Tabitha touched. Bringing my city together with love. Through the pain, sing your name, sing your song. Tabi's right here, never gone. People angry, secrets in the dark. Standing in this empty park. Tears are falling over broken hearts. Hope this song will keep her family strong.
Your lives have changed since the day that she went away. I pray your family will find peace in some way. I know it's hard to cope. Hope feels like a broken road. Through the darkest days, you're not alone. That's why you're hearing Tabi's song. So just
say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
how do we continue living without those we love? When in times of need, sometimes we just need a hug. Wish I had the words to say to make you feel more happy. Cause now that your world is different, there'll be no one like Tabi. That's how we feel. Now everybody's
Singing Tabi's song, light your candle, see your smile. You were not alone, you were not alone. Know your heart is aching and that time don't really heal. But your faith in God has kept you safe and always will. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring, you might see an angel when it rains. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring, you might see an angel when it rains.
With you, how we miss you. It's so much harder these days than it was with you. Blow you a kiss too. Say see you later, never goodbye. Cause when the tears start flowing, Tabi's by your side.
Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, just sing her song. Just sing her song. Just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, even when the tears start falling, just sing her. Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
Hi everyone, it's Marv. We're back for Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is titled Credibility Issues. As I said, I'm going to do about 30 to 40 minutes so that these can upload faster. So the longer chapters will have multiple parts, this one including. All right, let's start. Studying the thousands of pages of case files, there's a plethora of evidence that indicates why Alden was able to build a substantial sense of doubt regarding Balser's culpability in the murder among the jurors. Attempts to contact every juror who deliberated Balser's case, ultimately returning a not guilty verdict, were unsuccessful. Balser's attorney Robert Alden's push and ultimate success in getting a change of venue for the trial was a stroke of genius, because as Moore alluded to, Balser did have a reputation, like Neff, of having the propensity to cause trouble and be a menace to the community. A jury made up of Tipton County residents would have been far more apt to convict Balser of the crime, even though the evidence in the case was flimsy at best, when it came to definitively connecting her to the crime. Aside from the lack of physical evidence to link Balser to the alleged location of the murder, the witness testimony, which was purely hearsay, was also problematic due to credibility issues. At the top of the list of problematic character issues amongst the major players in the case was the prosecution's star witness, Andrew Bush. In addition to his admission that he was under the influence of copious amounts of controlled substances, levels that would likely incapacitate the average, non-drug addicted human being, reports show that Bush also failed the polygraph test well ahead of the trial. In a confidential report sent to Detective Tony Frawley in early May of 2003, about a year before the eventual start of Balser's trial in Noblesville, the Indiana State Police divulged the results of a polygraph examination on Bush that was allegedly conducted in Fort Wayne. The polygraph was initially set to be conducted in mid to late April, but was postponed until the end of the first week of May due to Bush telling authorities he had a bad cold and was not well. During the actual polygraph examination, 3 charts were conducted in which the following relevant questions were asked in the examination structure, with other information and/or control type questions, the polygraph examiner explained. So the examiner would ask a series of non-related questions and then fold in the 3 relevant questions during the process of the interview. The first question Bush was asked got right to the point. Did you actually witness Elizabeth Balser shoot Tabitha Raines? The report read. It is not clear, judging from the report, who actually asked the questions in the examination. Yes, Bush said. The second question read, did you see Elizabeth shoot Tabitha in the head with a pistol? Yes, Bush declared again. The report sent to Frawley wasn't clear regarding the contents of the third relevant question. Physiological responses noted on Bush's polygraph charts led the examiner to believe that Bush did in fact fail this polygraph examination. They wrote in all caps. Mr. Bush did not have any explanation for the deceptive chart tracings, they said. They added that a third polygraph chart was excluded from consideration due to what they refer to as erratic chart tracings. These are the type of chart tracings that are often found by deceptive individuals that attempt to defeat the polygraph test by using countermeasures, the examiner explained. When I notified Mr. Bush of the decision to avoid scoring the chart, he admitted he had deliberately moved his feet during the examination. This examiner cannot exclude Mr. Bush at this time from suspicion of deliberately lying about what he witnessed at the scene of the Tabitha Raines homicide. This revelation didn't seem to faze prosecutor Jay Rich, as he moved forward with the trial strategy of using Bush's testimony as his centerpiece. And Alden, as well as another high profile attorney in the case, took full advantage. In a series of depositions, Bush's credibility was called into question time after time. 2 days before the polygraph examination, Peru, Indiana based attorney Patrick Roberts, on behalf of John Yates, requested to depose Bush. Roberts is listed in the deposition as Yates' lawyer. Roberts is a well respected trial lawyer in northern Indiana, serving at least 2 terms as the city attorney in Peru over the course of his career practicing law. On this day, Roberts took his time picking at Bush's credibility in a lengthy interview. Rich, Yates, and Pike were also present for the deposition that, once transcribed, was well over 100 pages long. Roberts directed the questioning for the vast majority of the deposition, leading off by asking Bush some basic information about where he lived and what he did for a living as far as work was concerned. Bush gave his Clinton, Illinois address and stated that he had been working as a painter but was recently fired. He told Roberts he was terminated from the job because he was forced to repeatedly miss work to cooperate with investigators and participate in events such as the deposition taking place that day. Andrew, are you acquainted with Jonathan Yates? Roberts asked. Yes, sir, I am, Bush said. Okay, would you describe him for me? Yates had not been brought into the room to be on hand for the questioning to this point, because as the records seemed to state, he had not yet arrived under Pike's custody from the Tipton County Jail. Slim, dark hair, I don't know, maybe 6 foot, not quite as tall as I am, but white, race, just average looking teenager, I guess, Bush described Yates. Do you know how old he is? Roberts continued. I think he's like 18 or 19, I think. 19 maybe. I'm not really too sure. Okay, now if I understand you correctly, to give you some preface remarks, Mr. Rich has given me a whole stack of paperwork over here, okay? Okay. After Rich and Roberts sorted out the specifics of what was all included in the files, Roberts resumed his questioning of Bush. Okay, how well do you know Mr. Yates? Roberts asked. I'm not really too particularly acquainted with him. Just mean I lived in Tipton for a while, you know, Bush explained, and I've seen him around quite a few times. I mean, do you hang out together? No, we never. Did you ever, sit down and talk, chat? The only thing that ever was conspired is sometimes, like his buddy Neff would come over to my house and he'd buy some pills off me. But Yates never got out of the car, Bush said. He always stayed in the car, never came out. I honestly didn't trust him, so I didn't sell him anything. I thought he was a narc, so I never really sold him anything. Why'd you think that? Because the way he acted around me, he just acted, I get weird feelings about people, and I didn't want to sell to him. It's kind of like a street thing, you know? Okay, when you say street thing, what do you mean by that? Like, if you get a feeling about something, then you go by your feelings automatically. You don't even think about it twice, because it's not worth selling something to this guy when you can sell it to somebody else, you know, and not worry about it. Okay, when you talk about selling something, what do you mean? Pills, pills, weed, whatever. What kind of pills? Xanax, Oxycontin, Valium, whatever. Okay, where'd you get that? Oh, all over the place. Well, can you be more specific? Not really without incriminating people. I mean, I can get it from Tipton. I can get it from Greentown, I can get it from Windfall, and I can get it from wherever. Okay, is this prescription type drugs? Yeah. Okay, and they just get it to you, or do you pay for it, or what? I pay a small fee for it, and I charge a little more, but yeah. How long have you been doing this, Drew? What do you mean? Selling these pills. Oh, it was like, I don't, I probably sold it for like half the time I lived here. So probably about a year. I take it that you just don't go out and start selling pills. No. That you gotta know people and that kinda you gotta know people, Bush affirmed. And you only lived in Tipton County for a year? No, I lived in Tipton County for about 2 years. Okay, from when to when? Let's see. I don't know exact dates. I'm horrible with dates. But since I was 15 until I was about 17. And who did you live with? My dad. What's his name? Roy Lee Bush. Where's he live? Address, lot 24. That's a trailer court? Yes, sir. Okay, I had the opportunity in reviewing your testimony from before that you had indicated that the trailer court, that there were quite a few people living in there that were your age. Uh-huh. Okay, can you tell me who else that you know that knows something about the crime, which we're here to talk about today, what happened? Elizabeth Balser. Elizabeth Balser? Uh-huh. Okay, how do you know her? She lived down in front of me about 7 trailers. When I first moved to town, she was like the first one that got me hooked up with some weed and stuff. Okay, when was that? When you were 15? Yeah. Okay, and how did that happen? Just, she seen me like standing out, you know what I mean? Like drinking a beer. So then, she'd see that I was cool. You know what I mean? Then she just eventually stopped, started drinking with us. One thing led to the next. Well, when you say one thing led to another, what happened? Well, she took, you know what I mean? You know, you need some weed? Yeah, yeah. I need some weed. That's how we started knowing each other like that. Uh-huh, Roberts indicated that he understood. That's about it, Bush added. That's all we did. She, and she didn't really sell to me for that long because I found she liked to rip people off. So, well, tell me about that. She likes to skinch people's bags, Bush explained. You know what I mean? If I give you a $20 bill to get me a bag of weed, if I was Liz, I'd bring back $10 worth of weed. Okay, so she's that bad? She's skimming it in half? Yeah, she's a what we call a skinch. Yeah, a skinch? A skinch. She skinches your sack. Yep. And how do you know that she skinches your sack? Because you got scales. The scales weigh it. Well, don't you weigh it before you buy? Well, no. That's what I'm saying. She's pretty shisty. She, if you don't know the person to get it from, then she's got to get it for you. You know what I mean? And I don't know anybody, and I didn't know anybody to get it for me. She was the only person at the time, and I knew where to get it from. That I knew where to get it from. And she's the type of person that, well, you got to float me your money and I got to go get it. So you gave her X amount. You'd give her X amount of money to get X amount of weed. And sometimes, and when she came back, she didn't have X amount of weed. She had Y amount of weed. Not normally. She tried to get away with as much as she could without somebody noticing. But well, I mean, was this some stuff she just maybe took, pinch, pull, or something to hold out for herself? Well, yeah. It wasn't, yeah. And you knew that. Yeah. Okay, where'd you get your money to pay for this? I worked. Okay, how long have you been working? When I worked there, I worked for Closer Construction for a good almost 2 years. Who owns that? Mark, same last name, Clouser. And I was technically working for his stepson, Jared Hearn. That's who I was paid by. Okay, did Mr. Clouser, Mark, and Jared Hearn, did they do drugs? No, not to my knowledge. Okay, so you didn't have anything there in the workplace? No. Okay, so you started working for them when you were 15? Yep. Okay, did you have a work permit? Actually, no, I didn't. What did you do for them? Well, at first, until I turned 16, I pretty much was a gopher. Go for this, go for that, get me a saw, go get me a hammer, go get me a board, clean up that mess, stuff like that. Did you go to school? No. How long it's been since you've been in school? 4 years. Okay. When did you go last? I went for 2 weeks, like in 99. Okay, and what class was that? I mean, grade. That was, I was I was a sophomore, but I think that my credits reflected that I was a freshman, but I was supposed to be a sophomore. And what school was that? Tipton High School, Bush affirmed. And that was in 99? 99 or 2000. Don't hold me to that. Fall semester? Spring semester? Fall semester. And was that shortly after you moved here with your dad? Yep. That's what we first tried out, was getting me into school as soon as I got here. Okay, what do you mean first tried out? Tell me what that's about. I was a problem child, That's why I came here. Okay, tell me about that. I had to go to the pavilion for a little rehab and everything right before I moved in with my dad. What's the pavilion? It's a rehab center. Where? In Champaign, Illinois. Uh-huh. Okay. And what was that court ordered? No. It's just something your parents decided? Yeah. Who paid for it? My mom. So was something through her and your stepfather who made those arrangements? I believe so. I'm not sure exactly how they paid for it. I don't I was I don't know. I didn't pay attention to their bills. Well, did they discuss it with you? No. Okay. Now, how old were you when you were in the pavilion? 14. Okay, and why were you there? I got caught with marijuana at school. That's all? Yep. And they sent you to the pavilion for that? My mom, is pretty drastic. Okay, that was your mother's decision, right? Yep. Had you been in any trouble before that? No, I had one count of possession, but it was the juvenile department dropped it on me. I never had to do anything for it or anything. Well, tell me what you mean by the juvenile department. Is it a police agency or it was I I don't know exactly what they were affiliated with, but I got arrested for it. My mom came and got me from the jail, and then instead of having to go to court, they sent me to this. They sent me to the juvenile probation office for the county, and they just dropped it. And then after that, you got picked up for having marijuana at school, And then, well, I didn't get arrested for that. They didn't even, it was kind of like, here it is. They threw it in the garbage can, and my mom took me right from school straight to rehab. So there wasn't, okay, was there disciplinary action at the school where you got kicked out of? No. So did you ever return to school then? No. After pavilion? No. So your school activities were terminated? Yep. Okay, by your mother? I think it was. I think she kind of made a deal with the school, kind of like, hey, I'm going to send him to rehab right now if, you know what I'm saying, if you didn't expel him or whatever. I don't know. But you did get expelled. No, I didn't get expelled. I chose not to go back. I chose to move to Indiana. As soon as I got out of the pavilion, I moved here. Okay, so when you came to Indiana, you were 15. Right. There's there's a couple months that elapsed, man. You know what I mean? Where I didn't do anything. I didn't go to school, I didn't talk to my mom, I didn't talk to my dad. I was just on my own, just trying to live. Were you living with them? With your mother? Not when I left the pavilion, no. Excuse me, where did you go? I just I kind of hustled, man. I hustled and got stayed at college kids' houses. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. There's there was just a long road before I got here from the pavilion. Tell me about that road. Hitchhiking, walking train tracks, squatting in a town for a week and going to another town. You know what I mean? What's squatting mean? Like stopping in on a town and just getting to know people real quick and see what you know they're believe it or not, there's cool people out there and they'll help you. You know what I mean? Okay, you were homeless then, basically. Okay, and how did you get from one town to another? Walked tracks, hitchhiked, whatever. When you say tracks, did you hop trains or what? No, walk the tracks. Walk the train tracks. Uh-huh. What towns were you in over in Illinois? Danville. I walked through Danville and Champaign because that's where the pavilion was at. And I just left from there. All over, man. All through Lebanon, Indiana. Finally, one day I called my mom, and well, actually, my mom found me, and she came and picked me up, and she just drove me the rest of the way to my dad's house. So, okay, let's go back to the pavilion. Okay. Apparently, this was some sort of voluntary commitment. I mean, you were supposed to be there and go through a program and successfully pass it. That's what your mother told the school authorities was the plan, right? Right. You understood that. Right, Bush reaffirmed. Okay, then if I'm assuming from what you're telling me correctly, you voluntarily left there and didn't tell anybody. You're absolutely right. So you walked off. Absolutely right. Your mom didn't know you were going to do that. You just walked off and disappeared. Right. Why'd you do that? I wasn't right in the head. Pardon me, Roberts followed up. I wasn't right in the head, Bush repeated. Okay. I wasn't thinking clearly, Bush continued, and I wanted to get away. I didn't like my stepdad. I didn't want to be there. Okay, and you didn't want to be at the pavilion. No, I didn't. Well, definitely not. It's like jail. Okay, tell me about what they do to you at the pavilion. They lock you in a room. You're not free to come and go anytime you want. No, Bush affirmed. Okay, Roberts said. You're on the second floor. You got to have a key just to get in the elevator. Okay, and what? Why was that? Why were you put on the second floor? To kind of dry out or what? Just juvenile, Bush explained. I don't know. I don't know if you can dry out from marijuana. I know you don't have withdrawals. Okay, so, but you were taking pills at that time. Not at that time, not when I was young. Okay, the only illegal substance was marijuana that I did was marijuana when I got put there. That's why I was so mad, and that's why I left on my own recognizance, was because I didn't feel like I belonged there. Bush then drifted from town to town in Illinois before winding up in Indiana, hitchhiking his way to Lebanon in Boone County. I was trying to find my dad, and I didn't really know where to look for him, Bush said. Well, you didn't know where Tipton was, Roberts asked. No, I didn't know really where my dad was. Not at that time. When you got to Lebanon, what happened? I couldn't tell you. That was kind of like I didn't have anybody there, and I didn't have anybody anywhere. I'd sleep anywhere, man. You know, if you ain't got no place to sleep, you'll find someplace. But your mom found you. Yeah, she found me eventually. She sure did. Okay. How? Where did she find you? Well, I had a buddy with me that escaped from there with me, and he'd always stop to make phone calls to places and whatever. And I think that's how we got caught up. Because Rich cut Bush off. Escaped from where, Andrew? Rich asked. I'm sorry. From the pavilion. Okay, sorry, Rich continued. Okay, now that really isn't being on your own recognizance. That's escaping from the pavilion, right? Well, pretty much. Well, yeah, pretty much, Bush said. Left at on my own terms, I guess, is what you, if that's what you want to say. I'm going to reread that. Well, yeah, pretty much, Bush said. Left at on my own terms, I guess, if that's what you want to say. All right. That is the end of part 1. I will begin recording part 2 in just a little bit, but I will get this uploaded so you can hear it right away, and part 2 the following day. Thank you for joining me. Once again, please leave a comment under the video and let me know what you think about the first part of this chapter. Do you notice how Andrew Bush never fully answers a question? Have a good day, everyone.